If I didn't see the game last night, how would you describe it to me?
A tale of two halves. I think missed opportunities by the Pittsburgh football team in the first half, two turnovers. They had taken away twice, and yet they were still losing at halftime. So I think it was kind of what we thought going in. It was going to be a defensive battle. You had the hottest team in football, the Houston Texans, coming in with a 9-game winning streak, arguably maybe the best defense as well. And as we talked about, the team no one really wanted to play, and I think they lived up to that billing last night.
What's the one question, the main question you would want answered today in regards to the Steelers?
Oh, I mean, I think we have to sit back and assess where are we going from here. What is the plan moving forward? There was a lot of things I think we try to piece this football team together the last couple of years in terms of some of these free agents we brought in, which I understand. But I think now we have to have kind of a long-term plan in place as to what we want to do. And it doesn't mean that you're going to lose a lot of these pieces. I think there's a lot of things to build on, but I think you need some kind of consistency on the offensive side of the ball that you can kind of take over to the next year. I don't think it's fair to Arthur Smith to sit there and take out the whole quarterback room and change it, and the whole receiving room and change it, and expect you just to pick up where you left off. And I think we've tried to piece this together. I think we have to philosophically go into this next year with a plan in place as to how we want to do this, and if changes need to be made, then we need to do that.
If Rodgers wanted to come back, what would you do if you were still the head coach?
Dan, from everything I've heard and talked to people that are in that building, he's been exemplary. I mean, he's been a tremendous leader, holding people accountable, playing at a high level. I think it's something that you have to kind of make sure that he's all in. And one thing I would say, you could give him his time, but to be able to have a backup plan in place in terms of the development of the next person, and if you can bridge it with him for one more year, I think that would be ideal.
What question would you have for the Steelers with Mike Tomlin?
Well, I think those questions will be talked about. I think you can't be impulsive. I think you can't take 19 years of being together and make a decision in 19 hours. I think you got to make sure we sit back, take some time off, come together, and again, this will be something with Art, Omar, and Mike will sit in a room. They'll talk and what they see. I mean, they know it better than I know it from the outside looking in. And try to put in place a plan moving forward. And if they can do this together, they'll do it together. And if they can't, they won't. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of soul searching that needs to be done at this point. But I think Mike's earned the right to do that. And I think from a standpoint also, Art and Omar have a chance also to talk about what's the direction that we have. So those conversations will be had. It's a long-standing relationship. There's a lot of respect there. But as we saw in Baltimore, sometimes these things have a life cycle when they come to an end.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. There are parallels here. These guys, kind of in the same position for the same number of years, both have a Super Bowl win, but that was a long time ago. Not sustained success in the postseason. Baltimore moves on. Could you see a scenario where Pittsburgh does as well?
Yeah, and I don't think it's just been John Harbaugh. I mean, we talked about Pete Carroll was there for 14 years, and he won a Super Bowl. You talk about Bill Belichick, been there for 24 years, and they moved on. So, again, there is a life cycle to everything. Again, I think there's a lot of respect, and I think the people that have been there have the right to sit down and talk about what they want to do. And so sometimes it becomes a parting of the ways, and sometimes it's in the best interest of everybody. So, but again, those are things that I think you need to be able to sit down and make sure you put some thought into it and get a period of time where you can get away from it, reflect objectively, not subjectively and emotionally with what you're going through. I mean, listen, that was a gut-wrenching loss that they went through. To get there the week before, the epitome of the highs that they had, winning division, and also you sit there and it's 7 days or 8 days later, you sit there and you're eliminated. And losing playoff games, it's like a crash, Dan. You're going 65 miles an hour, you're on this adrenaline rush, and it's like hitting a wall, and all of a sudden it comes to an end. So I think that's why it's really good to kind of back away and not let the emotions of the moment seep into something and saying something or doing something that you may not give enough really thought into.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh has been good enough to not be bad enough to get in a position to get somebody like a quarterback, a franchise quarterback. They've been searching for a long time, and they get Aaron Rodgers on the tail end of his career, Russell Wilson on the tail end of his career. Like, it's not sustainable if you keep having musical chairs at that position.
Well, I think the attempt was made with Kenny Pickett to do that. I think Mason Rudolph, the attempt was to do that. And I think, again, you're looking at also maybe looking at a roster where you were trying to kind of like expedite that process because of, Cam Hayward, because of TJ Watt, trying to make sure that they're in the prime of their careers and the later part of their careers. And so, so I think there was an attempt to kind of have that sense of urgency, but also I don't think that they've not, because listen, they've got some young offensive linemen. They've got some young defensive linemen. I think Joey Porter Jr. stepped up to be a very good defensive back. You got DK Metcalf now moving forward. So there's a lot of pieces in place right there. I think what you kind of try to do, I think, again, was piece this thing together these last couple of years. And I think, again, that like we've seen it before. There's been a lot of 4-win teams, and everyone's looking for the quarterback. There's not like there's 32 of them in the National Football League. There are still some guys even trying to prove themselves now in these playoffs, some of these young guys. So you got to be able to build a team around you that allows you to win. And you get into the playoffs and you create that culture, you create that expectation. And when that guy does come along, you don't build it around him, you insert him into that team. And that's how, to me, that's what we were able to do with Ben Roethlisberger. And, for many years, we won a playoff game with Neil O'Donnell. We won a playoff game with Mike Tomlin. We won a playoff game with Cordell Stewart. We won a playoff game with Tommy Maddox. Did we get eliminated? Yeah, we did. But we won a championship because we had a special quarterback that came in and got us over the hump. Defenses will get you into the playoffs. Quarterbacks will win you championships.
Talking to Bill Cowher, the Hall of Famer. You stepped away from football, what were you, 49 or 50?
49. Okay. Yeah, 49.
When you stepped
You're not going down this path again now.
No, I
okay.
I want to know what you thought as far as your coaching future when you stepped away from the Steelers. Like that week, if I would have asked you, what is your coaching future, what would you have said?
Well, I mean, I love coaching. Even to this day, I've got so much respect for it. My mind was a lot more involved with that, Dan. It wasn't just about coaching. I made a decision that I prioritized my family, and particularly my wife at the time, who needed me to be there. And it was a time where we moved to Raleigh. My youngest daughter was going in 10th grade, and we made a commitment for 3 years with whatever we were going to do with our kids, because coaching can be one of those professions that I didn't want my kid going from 3 different high schools in their 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So they went down. And so I coached that last year in Pittsburgh. And I sat back at the very end, and I think it was a case that, did I love that team? Yeah. And it was a team, we didn't go to playoffs, but Ben also had that off-season injury. He had the accident, and we finished out 6-2, and I knew it was a good team, it was a good staff. But I had to sit down and prioritize my life and what I thought was important. And I have no regrets to this day having walked away. Did I think I would probably come back? I did. But the more I got involved with this life that I'm living right now, the normalcy that was involved with my wife, who I'd met and had been there before, I've enjoyed this platform. I've been on now at CBS for 19 years because I do have normalcy. I do have an off season, and I still love the game, though. And I did miss coaching, and I still, to this day, at times, I miss the strategizing of it. I talked to a lot of coaches around there. There's nothing better than to scheme up a blitz where you get a guy running free, or buck the trends. And all of a sudden, we were going 5 wides when nobody was doing 5 wides in the Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys because we're supposed to be a running team. I love to do what you didn't expect, the illusion of one thing and doing something else. That, to me, what football is all about. It's chess. To this day, I still miss that part of it. That's why I think it's the greatest game that's out there. And so, that being said, I love my life, and I understand and respect the hours that these coaches put in, the sacrifices that their families make as well, because it's more than just you; it's your family. Because your family during the football season becomes those guys that you're seeing every day you walk in there. And you're asking them to make the sacrifice and the commitment to what we're asking them to do. So it's those wives that are at home that are raising the families, and all of a sudden you have to blend back into that degree of normalcy in the off season, even though there's not much of an off season these days for coaches. So it's a very demanding job. It's a very absorbing job. I respect that, understand that, and at the same time, it's a performance-related job, and we all know the consequences that go with that.
There's an opening on the NFL Today set. Could you see Mike Tomlin joining you on the set next year?
I don't know. Hey, listen, he's welcome. Mike and I, we could share a lot of stories. Like I have a lot of questions for him through his 19 years. We don't really talk that often. So I actually left him a beer in the refrigerator. So I don't know if he does leave. I wonder if that beer is still there. I mean, he might even still be. It's probably skunked by now. I'll just tell the next guy, you might not want to open it. It's kind of like just a memorable thing. Just leave it there.
It might have been an Iron City.
It was in Iron City. Yeah, actually, I actually got a commemorative can. I have to send you one. It's got my face on it. So I actually, I really feel like I made it in life. I got an Iron City beer can with a commemorative can with my face on a beer can. What else can you do in life?
Man, that's really appealing to be drinking a beer with your face staring right at me, Coach.
I'm gonna send you a 6-pack. So,
if you're John Harbaugh, what's the best place?
uh, I don't know if there's a best place. I mean, there's a lot of openings right now. I think for John, he's going to go through it. And I think he has to sit down to see where he's most comfortable working with. I look at the players. You can look at quarterbacks. Well, who has a quarterback and who doesn't have a quarterback? But I look at John like you've done this with multiple quarterbacks. It's more about developing a team and building something that's got, like you talk about, longevity, that's got sustainability. And that to me is being able to get with a front office that you can work with, that you feel comfortable with. There's transparency. There's also collaboration. There's also creativity in what you're trying to do in terms of what you have on your roster, who you want to bring in, and the manner with which you want to do it. So I'm sure he'll have a choice of many, just like Kevin Stefanski, I would think, would have the choice of places to go as well. These are very successful coaches that have had success in the National Football League. They're not like the first-time head coaches, but there are a lot of really good first-time head coaches as well out there. So, listen, there's 8 openings right now, and it's kind of like what it usually is. I love seeing young guys getting opportunities for the first time, not just have to be offensive coordinators. As a matter of fact, in these 8 teams now, Dan, 4 of these head coaches have defensive backgrounds, okay? So just make sure it's like leave the fact we're not looking for the offensive guru all the time.
All right.
So sometimes developing a young quarterback, the best thing you do is have a very stout defense and a good running game and let them come along in a very nice posture with which you can develop them along the way and not ask them to do too much too early.
You talked about raising 2 daughters. What were you like when guys...
3.
3 daughters. Oh.
3 daughters. Yeah.
What were you like when guys came over to date your daughters?
Well, I told them the same thing that I told my daughters and as I told my guys at the work, because I actually had the same theory. 3 things. Choices and consequences. So you got my daughter. Choices and consequences. Just remember that, okay? That's first and foremost. The people you surround yourself with. So I don't know we're sure where you guys are going tonight, but it's the people you surround yourself. Understand and recognize what you're walking into. Same thing with players, same thing with coaches. And the last thing, the most important thing, just understand something. Nothing good happens after midnight, and I expect her back here by midnight. So there you go. Those 3 things.
You treated these guys like they were your players in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always said, I had 3 daughters at home and I had 53 boys at work.
Did you write it on a chalkboard? Did you diagram anything?
No, I was always very good with my expressions, so they knew when I was not happy about things. As you know, I wore my emotions on my sleeve, so that was never a problem.
I remember asking Charles Barkley about that, when somebody was going to come by, and he said, if I shoot the first one, word will get around. Don't come over here anymore. Not the greatest philosophy, but that's Barkley's approach to this.
I think we get the idea.
Give me who you like in the NFC, who you like in the AFC now.
It's so funny. I always go back to our run in 2005, and you start to look at some of the teams, and I'm seeing 2 6 seeds again. We were a 6 seed. And I look at the Buffalo Bills. They played the 3rd seed, Jacksonville. We beat the 3rd seed, Cincinnati, our first round. Divisional round, we had to play the best team in the AFC. That was the Indianapolis Colts, who were 14-2. They're playing the best team in the AFC in Denver. And then we went on to play Denver in the championship game. And if they were that, we would have to go play the number 2 seed, who we did play to. That would be New England. So, and San Francisco, kind of the same thing. I think these 2 teams, these wild card teams, I think arguably you could say, I think every one of them you could look at and say, Buffalo, Josh Allen, maybe puts his cape on. San Francisco, right now you're looking at a team that they're going against the Seattle Seahawks, the 3rd time they meet, divisional game, so they know each other very, very well. And Kyle Shanahan got them playing very well last week. Robert Saleh is taking this no-name defense, and they're playing at the highest of levels. And then you look at Houston. best defense maybe left in the team, going up against the New England Patriots, and all of a sudden you got Drake May is only a second playoff game. And then you may have the MVP Stafford going into Chicago. So, I think this weekend could match what I thought was one of the most exciting wild card weekends last weekend. I think this weekend could be just as much, even more so.
Yeah, aside from the Chargers Patriots, everything else was crazy great.
And last night, and I think last night was another game that kind of got away in the second half. But I think, like you said, you had 4 game-winning drives. You sat there and watched Caleb Williams do it. Then we saw Matthew Stafford do it. Then we saw Josh Allen do it. Then we saw Brock Purdy do it. 4 fourth-quarter game-winning drives. The lead changes that went back and forth in the course of these games. That's why I'm saying the margin in the National Football League this year in the playoffs is more here. We've been 1st seed, 6th seed, 7th seed. They are all right there. They're right there. I think any one of these teams could get on a run, and as we can see right now, can beat anybody on any given Sunday.
Before I let you go, you saw the sort of handshake between Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. And, he's embracing the rivalry. Did you have one of those moments with another coach that, you just didn't? You did sort of a drive-by with the handshake?
You ever see our Baltimore games?
So you and Billick?
Like I said, go watch our Baltimore games.
But did you not like him, or you didn't like the Ravens?
They were all the same to me, Dan.
Okay.
They were all the same. One guy's leading them, so I probably didn't like him because he was leading them. Okay, so I embraced rivalries. I don't think there was anything wrong with that. And I hope right now that Matt stays there, Ben stays there, and it's cold and it's mad, and they don't even shake next time. They just wave and salute each other, and that's the way it should be. That's how rivalries are made, because you know what? When you're 2 good teams fighting for that division, that makes those games special.
But are you okay with Billick today? If you ran into Billick?
Oh, yeah. We're great today.
Oh, okay.
And I was great with him in the offseason. Now, on that particular day, I didn't like anybody even over there.